This episode of Beers and Brawls is proudly brought to you by Shifty Lizard Brewing Co. Amazing little brewery down in Wollonga, serving up awesome ice cold beers on tap. They also have a kitchen that has amazing burgers and chicken wings. If you can't get down to Wollonga, they have another venue in the Adelaide CBD called harddaysnigh, where they have all their beers on tap, plus they've paired up with a few other food trucks there. So, if you're looking for something to do on your next weekend free, get down to Wollonga or Hard Days Night, make a day of it, try all their beers, try their food, you'll love it, I love it, it's one of my favourite places. So, cheers. That's a good drop. Welcome to Beers and Brawls, the show where my guests and I drink beer and talk all things wrestling. I'm your host Jared, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Beers and Brawls. Another big thank you to our sponsors, Shifty Lizard, keeping us hydrated throughout this episode. Now today's episode we've got a special one for you. We've got a referee. Now you've seen him refereeing all over Adelaide and all the promotions, even on the international shows that have come down, New Japan, NWA, World Series. He's done a couple little stints interstate as well, and he is the current general manager of ACW. He is Nick Savage. Nick.
Jared, how are you?
Good, mate. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, absolutely. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate you giving up your evening. It's awesome to have you on here, and I'm really looking forward to hearing a bit about your story, your journey. But how's things at the moment? How's ACW treating you, Mr. GM, hey?
Yeah, really good. It's obviously being the GM is very, very new.
Yep.
And there's a lot to learn, and even though I've been involved in the business for so long, it's still very different, very daunting to get out there in front of everyone in a different perspective. But I'm really enjoying it, having a lot of fun with it, and a good group of people.
Yeah, awesome. What made you want to take up that role instead of just being the referee, sort of moving into GM?
I guess for a long time I've wanted to do something else.
Yep.
I've been a referee for a long time. I've contemplated giving it away on and off over the years. Probably to the point where I've probably have said, no, this is it. I'm going to stop reffing, and then I've come back to it for whatever reason. And I've always wanted to try doing something else. Whether that's a general manager, or a manager of a wrestler or a tag team or a group of wrestlers. It's always been something I've wanted to try. And been good friends with Riley for a long time. And that goes back before she was involved in wrestling. And the opportunity came up, and she asked me if I'd be interested, and of course I took the opportunity and ran with it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's awesome to see you branching out and trying something different. What about wrestler? Is that tickled your fancy at all?
That's where it started.
Yeah.
So I did want to be a wrestler, and started many years ago. So back at the Monster Factory with Cole Devani. I'm probably answering questions that you're going to ask.
No, that's
later.
all good. So cool.
But wanted to be a wrestler, had no understanding of what it takes to be a wrestler, have no natural athletic ability whatsoever, but I had to go. I trained there for maybe 6 to 8 months.
Okay, not bad.
So I did do the basic wrestling training. I learned how to take bumps. I learned how to take and give some of the very basic moves. None of it very well. Realised that I can't jump, which is obviously a huge detriment. Ended up spiking myself. There's no one else involved, but I still kept going, and eventually Cole. I want to say he suggested, but it was probably more of a firm recommendation. That I had to go at refereeing, and I guess that's the end of that story, I guess.
Yeah, nice. No, well, you've stuck at it. We'll get into how long it's been, but you've obviously stuck at it for a long time. And yeah, like we said in the intro, you've been lucky enough to do all those international shows that have come over, New Japan, NWA, all that sort of stuff. How did you find doing that sort of gigs?
Yeah, I guess my initial introduction to those sorts of shows were very mixed talent, and obviously the shows are still very mixed in terms of local talent and international talent.
Yeah.
But initially it was 2 or 3 international talent, and mostly people that you were very familiar with.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, it's really easy.
Yeah.
In the aspect of working with, and especially early on, people you don't know. Obviously, a lot of the international talent is very used to having very little conversation with the referee.
Okay.
To my experience, and they don't know you.
Yeah.
They don't know what you're capable of or what your skill set is. So it can be challenging. It can be daunting. But as you become more confident and more able, it's a good experience, good opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you decided, or got made to become a referee, did you sort of stick around the school learning that, or did you go anywhere to learn your craft, or how have you sort of built yourself up to how you are now?
I guess there wasn't a lot of opportunity to learn from anyone.
Yeah.
So I wasn't the only referee, because obviously there was a gentleman named Boothie who was refereeing before I was. He stopped refereeing very shortly after I started.
Yeah.
But there's definitely no one else in South Australia apart from him. Initially I thought this is going to be easy. I thought being a referee was the easiest thing in the world. You very quickly find out that it's not an easy job. It's obviously quite involved. It takes a lot of understanding, it takes a lot of timing, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more to it than just getting down and counting, a pinfall.
Yeah.
So I watched a lot of refereeing on TV. Obviously mainly WWE back at that time. I did work with Beaumont and Fozzie a couple of times when they came over.
Okay.
So I picked up a few things from them, but it was very, very sporadic. So a lot of it is very self-taught.
Yeah, on the job training.
Yeah, on the job, getting feedback, replaying what you've done, looking at what worked, what didn't work, how it's done elsewhere, and working on that, right? Yeah.
Like, you do more research than some of the wrestlers, I know, mate.
Potentially.
That's really good. Good tips there, anyone watching. Watch tape, learn all that sort of stuff. That's awesome, man.
I've definitely watched a lot of wrestling where I've watched the referee more than I've watched the wrestling. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well let's fire up our questions. I'm sure we're going to touch on a couple of things we've already talked about, but we'll get these going and we'll see how we go with those.
Yeah,
sound
no
good?
worries. Yeah, cool.
All right, got the timer fired up. You've had a big swig of your Gatorade. Hot night here in Adelaide. Not a drinking man, that's all good. Like, we've had a lot of guests on the show that don't have drink alcohol, and that's fine. Everyone's welcome on here, but great that you're keeping hydrated and ready for this rapid fire questions. We got the timer started?
Yeah, why not? Let's go.
All right, starting now. Who are you? Who's Nick Savage? What is he all about?
I guess obviously referee and now general manager at ACW. This may come as a surprise maybe to you, because backstage I'm obviously very I've got a very joking mannerism and I'm always making fun of things and not at all serious. But when I get in there and it's time to ref a match, I take it extremely seriously. I think I play a really important part in wrestling. And I love being involved, love what I do.
Yeah, awesome answer. When did you start in the business?
So it was either very late 2000 or very early 2001.
Yep.
So wrestling was I guess wrestling was coming back.
Yep.
To South Australia. Cole Devani had started the Monster Factory. I believe it had only been running a couple of months.
Okay.
There's obviously was some people there that are still wrestling today. That I'm sure everyone knows. But that was, I got started there, as we already talked about. I started as wanting to be a wrestler, ended up as a referee, and I've done that ever since.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Who's your favourite wrestler or a couple favourite wrestlers and why?
I guess I'll probably say a couple, and they're probably very cliche, and they're probably ones that a lot of people say, and people may hate the second answer. So the first one is Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, nice.
And the second one, as a current wrestler, would be CM Punk.
Yeah, nice.
And I guess it's very much for very similar reasons.
Yeah.
I love the technical aspect of wrestling, but I think for me, wrestling is very much about the art, the performance, putting on a show, and Shawn Michaels obviously the best ever at that. And I think CM Punk's right up there, and I love watching him work.
Yeah,
so.
Great answer. Favourite match that you've been a part of?
It's hard because there's been a lot. I think interestingly, and this is really quite interesting because I'm again at a point was at a point in my refereeing career where I'm like, it's time to start winding down. It's time to give this up and stop. And then at World Series last year, I refereed ABC in the Pro.
Oh, nice.
And the match was amazing.
Yep.
And the way we all worked together was amazing. The crowd reaction, the way the match was put together, the crowd reaction was like insane.
Yeah.
And I'll walk away from that match going, geez, why do you want to stop doing something if you can? And I'm not to talk myself up or anything, but when you can do it so well, why do you want to stop doing this?
Yeah.
And it just gave me that, that desire to keep going,
relit
I guess.
the fire.
Yep.
That's awesome, man. We're going to talk about that later. Dream wrestlers that you would love to, in Australian wrestling, that you'd love to referee?
I don't know that there's many that I haven't refereed that I would want to, and this is nothing against any wrestlers that I haven't worked with, that I necessarily really want to work with. I think if it came to it, it's probably people I've worked with before, but a long time ago, and I'd love to work with them again and see how they've evolved further. People like Damien Slater, people like, he's not wrestling in Australia at the moment, but Hartley Jackson. People from my roots back in the day, and wanting to work with them again. And,
for sure.
And see how they've evolved.
No, that's awesome. I like that. Most embarrassing moment you've had in the ring?
That's an interesting question. I think I've done a lot of things that you would think were embarrassing. I've certainly never shied away from doing anything I've been asked to do. Except for a couple of dangerous things, which we won't go into, but that I've just said out right now, I won't do that. And it wasn't dangerous to me, it was dangerous to the wrestler. I worked a lucha show, where we did a spot where effectively it looked like the wrestler would shit his pants, and then gave me a stink face in the corner. And I don't even consider that embarrassing. That's just part of it. But I guess the most embarrassing thing is all the way back to the second match I refereed.
Okay.
So it was my first night as a referee, and this is probably a little bit not kayfabe, but I counted a 3 count as a 2 count, and said the match was called the match is still going. When it was clearly a 3 count. And it was extremely embarrassing. and I've made it a point to never do anything like that again.
Nice. No, I like that. What are your current goals in the business?
I guess I want to keep working, keep doing what I'm doing. I have a really strong desire to train some other referees.
Yeah, nice.
I find that to be really difficult. I don't know what the reasons are, but it's really difficult to get people that want to be the referees together into a training situation. It doesn't typically fit in with training that's going on from a wrestling perspective, so that makes it difficult as well. But I think there's a lot of talented referees, or a lot of, I should say more, not as the ones that are as experienced, the upcoming referees. I think there's some really talented guys, and they've got the right idea, they've got the right mindset, and I'd love to work with them and show them some of the things that I've learned over the years. And it's definitely something I haven't had. Or I didn't early on have the opportunity to have that experience, and I think it'd be good for the upcoming guys. And then obviously, on top of that, branching out and doing some of the other stuff like general manager, maybe look at some other roles in the future as well.
Absolutely. Well, anyone out there who's a current referee up and coming or wants to be one, reach out to Nick's social media and let's get a training together, and I'm sure that someone will be able to, some school will be able to help out with that, and that'll be awesome. That'll be, like you said, you didn't have that coming up, so to give that opportunity to people would be awesome. Is there a match type that you'd never want to referee?
No, I don't think so.
Is there a match?
I'd actually, not that I'd never want to do it, but I actually don't like doing your triple threats, your 4-way matches. I don't like the matches where there's little to no involvement for the referee. Because it just makes you feel like you're in the way all the time. So, but I wouldn't say I wouldn't do it. It's just not a preferred.
Is there any matches that you've never refereed that you'd like to do, like match types?
Interesting. I don't think there is, to be honest. Unless you want to go like to crazy, like exploding ring barbed wire.
What about
match.
steel cage?
I've done a steel cage.
Steel cage?
Yeah. We did Wrestle Rampage, and can't remember 100% who was in it, but I'm sure it was like Slater, Havoc, Harley Jackson, those guys. Good fun. Good match.
Wicked. In your opinion, what is wrestling missing today?
I think the kayfabe. I think it's become very wide open. And look, not to say that there's not a lot of people out there that you can't go back to the 60s, the 70s where where everyone thought it was 100% above board. But it's so far removed from that now. Social media's obviously played a big part in that. It's become extremely difficult for the big promotions to have their surprises, to have people come back and for people not to know what's happening at the time, right? And I think that's pretty sad. Because that's a huge part of wrestling, right? That wow factor, or that I can't believe that happened, is a huge thing. I mean, even Elimination Chamber in Australia, where you wouldn't expect WWE to fly in AJ Styles to come in and just hit someone with a chair, and then the next day someone says, "Oh, I knew this was happening as soon as I saw it in the hotel room yesterday morning." So that person was cool enough to keep it to themselves until the show had been done. But social media creates that platform where someone could sneak a photo or just go on social media and go, I just saw AJ Styles. And it ruins it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, awesome, man, awesome. Well, the time ran out a long time ago, but that doesn't really matter because that happens every show, as people point out. But you currently referee Riot City, don't you? You still
mainly Riot City Wrestling.
Mainly Riot City at the moment. You are the general manager at ACW, so I'm going to do this as just a whole for South Australian wrestling. Who, in your opinion, are your top 3 wrestlers?
In South Australia now?
Yeah.
I guess the obvious one is Delta.
Yeah.
She's obviously come up very quickly. She's picked up wrestling extremely quickly.
Yeah.
I've got the opportunity to be really close to these people in the ring as well. So watching them work at, a really close.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she is the way she works is great.
Yeah.
So she's definitely on the list. And I'll say these in no particular order.
Yeah.
Well.
I'm sure you got plenty of wrestlers.
It's hard to probably
find 3.
But the next person I'd have to probably say would be Havoc.
Yeah.
Havoc's been around since I started.
Yeah.
Him and Hartley Jackson were the guys in the corner of the gym that were like the mysterious seasoned veterans when I came in. And they'd been doing it 18 to 24 months at that stage, but they were also people that picked it up extremely quickly.
Yeah.
I think now he's getting the attention he deserves.
Yeah.
But I think for a long time he worked as, and I'm sure it was more out of a necessity, but he worked as that mid-card talent who is extremely talented.
Yeah.
His work rate's really good. His execution is amazing. And I think that for a long time he didn't get the credit he deserved.
Yeah, nice.
The third one, jeez. The third one's going to be really hard, I think.
You can just throw any name out there because obviously there's going to be a lot more than 3 that are.
Yeah, so I guess there's going to be a lot of names, right? So I'm going to cheat for a third one.
Okay.
And I'm actually going to name 2 wrestlers.
Yeah.
But they are a tag team.
Yep.
And I'm going to say the Pariah.
Nice.
And again, I think the first time I saw the Pariah work, I was in the crowd, which I hadn't spent a lot of time watching wrestling from that perspective, as in a live environment, and I saw these 2 young guys, and this is back a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
Probably in the scheme of things, it's not a long time, but they were still wearing the trackies, and and I said there is something about those guys that just needs to be polished.
Yep.
And since then, every time I've seen them, they've improved.
Better and better. Yeah.
And they are right on top of their game at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Extremely talented, work extremely well as a team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. What about 3 up and comers that you've got your eye on?
Yeah, maybe a little bit easier. Although there's still a lot. I'd have to say Vincent D. Moran.
Yeah. Nice.
Another one that's come up, and I'll say in the same because I think the second one would be Ronan Richter.
Yeah.
And they've both had a similar trajectory, right? They started training here. They've gone overseas to hone their craft. With New Japan, they've come back, and I think they've got a lot of potential and a
Yeah.
lot to look forward to in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
And for a third one, I guess there's a lot of names you could throw out there. I'd probably say this person's maybe not who you'd consider to be a real like newcomer or a trainee as such, but in the scheme of things, I guess he hasn't been around a huge amount of time.
Yeah.
But he has accomplished quite a bit in that time, and that would be Mr. Cliff.
Yeah, nice. Former ACW champion.
Yeah, former ACW champion. He took the belt off of yourself, but he's worked extremely hard.
Yeah,
and it really shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, awesome, man. I love all those answers. Amazing to hear all that stuff there that you've done and your goals and everyone that you've sort of worked with and that sort of stuff. So thank you for going through them. Now I'm going to fire up some photos of your career to look at. Now, as we spoke off air before, yes, it was hard to find some photos, so we haven't got a lot to go through. But I'm going to love to hear about them, and I'd love to hear some more stories, so we'll get that going.
I don't know where you found photos, but I guess I'm about to find out, right?
We are. Alright, Nick. Pictures are fired up. Are you ready?
I'm ready, yep. As ready as I'll ever be.
So, start with picture number 1.
Oh, yeah.
Who's that handsome devil?
That's probably not as long ago as you think.
Well, like I said, I did have a hard time finding photos, and back in 01, 02, there wouldn't be many cameras around.
No, I'm not digital, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
found what I could, but we'll have fun with it.
Yeah. So I have a feeling that that's either backstage at an ACW show or potentially a BCW show.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Is that hair real? You dyed that?
That's dyed.
Dyed?
That was dyed for a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I dyed my hair, I'm going to say probably from around 2010.
Yeah, right.
And underneath it was like this.
Yep.
And then when, and I religiously dyed it.
Yeah, okay.
And mostly without the facial hair.
Yeah. Oh, they got me.
Yeah.
'Cause I was thinking this would be a long time ago.
Nah, so it's
the
not
change
that.
in colour.
I would say that's 2019 at the latest.
Yeah, wow.
At the
There
earliest.
you go. There you go. Okay.
So then COVID hit and I stopped dyeing my hair.
There you go.
So yeah, there you go. And people were like, "Geez, you went grey quickly." It's like, no, I didn't go grey
exactly.
quickly.
That's
Yeah.
well, there you go. You learn something new.
So, yeah.
Far right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Nice little picture there. Oh, that's a good picture.
Yeah. So that's me with Cole Devani, obviously.
Yep.
That's the first wrestling. So that's interesting. That's the first referee's top I ever bought.
Oh, really?
Yep.
You had to buy your own. They didn't give you one.
No. You don't get given anything, do you? It cost me a fortune at the time.
Really?
It cost $80.
What?
Yep.
Where'd you buy it from?
So, some tiny sports shop on Port Road.
Wow.
Was the only place I
That's
could
probably
get
still
a
there
top.
too.
So, bearing in mind the time this was as well, so you couldn't easily get on the internet. Find stuff.
Yeah.
Buying stuff online wasn't as easy as it is now. All of those hurdles.
Yeah.
And I went to every sports shop I could think of in South Australia, and no one had one. I even went to Foot Locker, and as you know, their uniforms are, and they couldn't help me. And I found this tiny sports store on Port Road, and they took 80 of my hard-earned dollars.
That amazes me, because you'd think of basketball and stuff like that. Like, I used to referee basketball, and I got one exactly like that.
Yep.
And it's just,
Yep.
You'd think that'd be around more often, but...
No, it's for some reason really hard to get. And I probably didn't even think of basketball back then.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, so that I do know where that is. That's a Wrestle Rampage show. believe that's at, no, I don't believe. I know that that's at St Clair Recreation Centre before they renovated, and obviously Cole was there, and Cole was great, right?
Yeah,
Cole was, when you started, Cole was the guy you were scared of.
Yeah.
You'd sort of walk into the gym and you'd avoid Cole, and he'd be like, "Oi, what are you doing? Come over here!" And as soon as he got hold of you, he could grab you with 2 fingers, right?
Yeah,
You'd be like in agony. Really strong hands. A proper wrestling veteran, I guess.
Yeah.
But he always meant well. He did a lot for wrestling in.
Yeah.
I wouldn't just say wrestling in South Australia. I'd probably say wrestling for Australia, right?
Yeah.
Without Cole, I wouldn't say there's no EPW, but EPW in Perth wouldn't be what EPW in Perth is.
Yeah.
So there's all those things, and even I should say even here, same night he probably grabbed me by the ear and made me scream. But yeah, really cool photo.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's going on here?
So this is this would have been some sort of raffle, and
wrestling and raffles.
and I'm gonna I know, right? I remember the days, and I think there's still some shows like this that you couldn't have a wrestling show without a raffle.
Oh yeah, PWSA.
Yep. So I don't know if that's. I think that's St Clair as well, but it could be Cosgrove Hall.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not 100% on that. I'm pretty confident that Luke Hazard's about to put me on the spot and ask me some stupid question about who should win this raffle or who's going to get a t-shirt or something like that. And then obviously Tom Chocolate. He's another guy that did a lot for wrestling behind the scenes.
Okay.
That a lot of people really probably don't know about. He did a lot of printing of shirts and other stuff like that, and a really nice guy.
Yeah, no, awesome. That's Wrestle Rampage, obviously.
That is Wrestle Rampage, yes.
Yeah, nice.
So this is Wrestle Rampage as well, and that's Bones Malone, and I mean,
well, the get up, that's good.
He always wore. So he has this knack of finding these suits, and he finds it at like op shops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, where did you get that suit? That is crazy. And somehow it just fits him, and it works amazingly well. I don't know. Obviously, something's happening behind my back, right?
Well, you're telling him you're the man.
Oh yeah, and he's got me by the shirt, which is something I've never understood, because you shouldn't have to grab the referee. But for whatever reason, he's grabbed me, and he's obviously threatening to hit me with his cane. He's really talented. So solid wrestler, solid worker, but he has this charisma about him, this way of working the crowd, that a lot of people should probably take note of. Because he is extremely good in that regard.
Oh, awesome, man. There you go.
Oh yeah, okay. So this is BCW.
Ken Shamrock.
That is Ken Shamrock.
Nice.
And
who's he flipping?
It's either. I'm pretty sure it was it's definitely Cole Mundy. And I believe he wrestled. They did a 2-on-1 handicap tag. So I can't remember if it was Jack Rossley. So I don't think that's Kyle there. Or is it Kyle? I'm not sure.
No, that's not Monday there. No. I don't think. No.
Really cool.
Okay.
So again, this isn't that super long ago. Really cool show. I don't know how I got involved in it. I don't know how I ended up refereeing. I don't know any of that. Ken Shamrock was on the show. Chavo Guerrero was on the show. A couple of other guys.
Nice.
One of my favourite matches, or one of my favourite angles of all time, is the Rock Shamrock.
Oh, yeah.
And it's probably very, early when I started watching wrestling seriously was when that angle was happening. Watching how they worked, watching the way that they had the screwy finishes and stuff like that, and the way it was done. And I guess, and now I know how early in The Rock's career that was, and the way he executed was amazing. And obviously Ken Shamrock's got legitimate MMA skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to be in the same ring, to be in the same arena, saying I'm working on the same show, right? But to be in the same ring refereeing Ken Shamrock was quite a privilege.
Was he alright?
Yeah, he was okay. He didn't say much. One thing that I've found, and I think I touched on this earlier, a lot of international talent don't say a lot, particularly the referee. And again, this is my experience. On the other side of the coin, I'm very much, I'm in the locker room, I've got a job to do. And that's referee a match. The wrestlers have a different job to do. And what they need to do, it doesn't help them if I'm getting in their face going, I'm so glad to meet you, I've been a big fan. He probably knows that already. Well, I don't need to tell him. I say, hello, I'm Nick, it's nice to meet you, I'm refereeing your match tonight, and that's pretty much, particularly before the show. A lot of these shows, they leave fairly promptly afterwards. They probably work a really tight, busy schedule. But cool dude. Easy to get on with, no issues.
Nice. I think. Oh, there we go.
Jeez.
Johnny.
So I have no idea where you've found that. But that's like, I'm very young there. A lot thinner. So that could be, it would have to be before that. Because I went through a couple of stages where I was extremely thin. And then I went through a stage where I put on weight, and then I lost a lot of weight. And then I'm back to now a middle-aged man who doesn't do all that. Weight. But I couldn't tell you anything about that photo except that John's a great guy. John was probably involved in wrestling maybe 6 months more than I've been. So he was already at Monster Factory when I turned up. So he's been part of my wrestling career from the beginning. I've got nothing bad to say about him. He's just a really nice guy, right? He's another person that's done, in my opinion, a lot for South Australian wrestling. Some people might not think it's all for the good, but I don't get involved in that side of things, right? I just think he's a good guy. He's always treated me well. We've got mutual respect. We've always got along. And we may not speak very often, but when we do, it's just like it's like we've been speaking forever. You know what I mean?
No, great guy. We've had him on the show. Fans of the show would know. Great little episode, so go back and watch that one. But Johnny Raddick, legend. Here's Monday in Shenmue.
So that's Monday there. Okay. So that's
What a kick.
He's like an imposing figure, right? Like I already said, he's got a a legitimate background.
Yeah.
And he, you know, when someone carries themselves in that manner,
Yeah.
and you can just tell that, like,
they fuck you up.
yeah, exactly. Like, he's not concerned about anything.
Yeah.
Not that he's got a reason to be, but you know what I mean. He's just got that air about him.
Yeah, for sure.
The funniest thing was, and it was really cool, but it was super funny, was them playing his WWE theme song for him to come out. And they did the same thing for Chavo. And I'm standing in the middle of the ring going, I don't think you can really use that music. but again, so that was like cool, right?
Yeah,
to be in the ring and that music. And he did all of his moves that you expected him to do. And he just snapped and went for the ankle lock. Cool guy. Easy to work with.
What venue is that?
That is Don Polsky Centre.
Okay.
Which is a really cool venue, right?
Right. Okay.
You've got the upstairs area, which they weren't using for this show. So the talent, or the wrestlers and the crew were upstairs watching the fights.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good venue. It's very hard to set up in there.
Okay. Yeah.
You've got to get your ring up through lifts and stuff to
wow.
set it up. Not easy. I have a feeling. So I know that, or I'm confident that before it was Wrestle Rampage, the group or the promotion became Wrestle Rampage.
Yeah.
Which I think back then worked under the EPW banner. I'm sure they did some shows here.
Okay. Yeah.
I know that Knees of Furies used Don Polsky Centre a lot.
Yeah.
After they moved from the basketball stadium.
Yeah.
But I think it is a really cool venue. Just
nice.
hard to get it set up.
Yeah.
Right? And that's unfortunately that's part of organising a show and part of deciding where you're going to have it. There's plenty of good venues or great venues in SA.
Yeah.
So it often gets overlooked for that reason.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, never know. Maybe someone will have a show there.
Yep. So this is funny enough. This is the same night as that first photo you showed me.
Oh, really?
And this is so. This actually goes back to something I said at the very start tonight about how I'm the first person to have a laugh out the back.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people think I don't take it seriously for that very reason. And I don't know how this came up, but it's just mucking around. Obviously, Kyle Violet Blitz. Good fun. I'm sure that's ACW then. So the first picture must be an ACW.
Must be ACW, yeah. Same wall in the
Yeah.
background. Nice one. Here's an old one.
Yeah, okay, so this is old. So that's obviously Johnny again, Johnny Raddick, and Hartley Jackson. And I'd be confident to say that he was potentially still wrestling as Jag.
Okay.
Or Jag Hartley Jackson there. I have no idea where it is. I'm going to guess that that's Waterside Workers' Fault.
Okay, yeah.
I couldn't tell you anything else about that show. That would have been...
How many years in do you reckon that would have been?
So that would have to be before 2006, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
I think from memory, 2006 was around the time. So that's when the dynamic of SA wrestling really changed, right?
Okay.
So it started with Monster Factory, Pro Wrestling South Australia, and then Pro Wrestling South Australia sort of tapered off And I'm probably going to get this in the wrong order, but I'm sure that MPW started then.
Okay.
So we all, all the guys at Monster Factory worked for MPW. Obviously at that point, guys are going interstate and working and stuff like that. Eventually it became, I'm sure it became joint promotions. At some point, Hartley Jackson went overseas.
Yep.
It's probably the biggest turning point, not only for him, but also for how SA wrestling evolved from there. So he goes overseas, he wrestles in Japan, does the dojo thing over there, and his whole mindset around wrestling changes.
Okay, yeah.
And he comes back. So, Monster Factory, I think there was training 2 or 3 nights a week. It was very wrestling focused training, right? If you were interested in doing your cardio and your weightlifting and all of those other things that are part of being a wrestler, that was outside of what happened there.
Yeah.
Harley Jackson comes back from overseas. He continues to work with joint promotions for a little while, and he is at that time starting to think about branching out.
Okay. Yeah.
So he had decided that he was going to start his own wrestling school.
Yep.
That was very different to what people had experienced previously. He insisted on tryouts. I believe everyone, so including current wrestlers that went over there, went to a tryout.
Okay.
It was still very wrestling focused,
Yep.
but also very cardio focused. Where he initially set up was in a gym. You had to be a member at the gym.
Right.
There was a focus on the gym aspect
of
being a wrestler, and that's not to say that you had to become a big guy. It was what you wanted to get out of it, but there was an expectation there that you were committed and fitness, cardio fitness, all of those things. That was the first time that I said and I actually sat down with Cole and I said, I think this is it for me, Cole. I don't know what the future for me in wrestling is. Joint promotions was finishing. I think John was going off to start his own, or he was taking over that side of the promotion. I didn't know what I was going to do, and that was the first time that I thought about just stopping. And he said, "Why don't you have a chat with Jag?" And had a talk to Hartley Jackson, and he's like, "Yeah, come on over." Obviously, that was as a referee capacity. So that being said, I did eventually do a tryout with them.
Oh, nice.
And it was probably the most cardio I did in 10 years that I did in 2 hours. It was tough. So interestingly though, I went interstate for work for 6 months at the very start of that and missed the first 2 shows. I made it to the 3rd, and I'm sure it was under the EPW Adelaide banner. I made it to the 3rd show because I insisted that my employer bring me back for the weekend so I could be on the show. And then so I started working for EPW Adelaide, which later became Wrestle Rampage.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, dude. Good story, I like that. Here's more from that match.
Is that no? That's a different match, is it?
Is it different match?
That looks like. So that looks like the man mount. Oh no, it's not. It is. Jesus, it's tiny, isn't it?
A little bit small. The same gear.
It does look like the same gear. I thought it was man mountain for a minute, but no, I think it's exactly the same match.
It's cheating.
I didn't think he was much of a cheater. You would have thought I would have seen that,
right? You'd think so. Jesus. Big dude like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's about, but so I'm pretty confident that is Waterside Workers Hall, and it would still be back in that MPW phase, because I think that's Don Damage in the background, who was the general manager.
Okay.
And is that Luke Hazard?
Looks a little bit like him.
I think that might be Luke Hazard.
Everyone at home will see these as well, so they can pick it
Oh,
up.
will they?
If you know who they are, put them in the comments, guys.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to see it, otherwise they're just talking to a bloody computer.
That doesn't look as much like John as... Can we go back to the...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the same match,
gear,
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, so I don't know about the cheating, but I didn't think anyone cheated while I was refereeing.
No, well, we got photo evidence. We got to go back and reverse that decision if it was a win.
There you go.
As Luke.
So, yeah, Luke has it again. Luke's always... So, Luke's another guy that was there when I started.
Yep.
Hopefully he stopped the wrestling side of it a long time ago. I think he's, from what I've seen, he's definitely one of the best ring announcers in the country.
Yeah.
He takes that part of it very seriously.
Yep.
And does a really good job. This looks like St. Clair Recreation Centre as well.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, Luke's a cool guy.
Yeah.
We've done a lot together. We've been a lot of the local international shows that I've worked on, he's worked on.
Yeah.
He's easy on with. Yeah, I couldn't say anything bad about him.
No, awesome.
He's been, I've got to make sure I say this guy's name correctly. I think the best one was Shinsuke Nakamura. And he's like, I've got to pronounce this guy's name correctly. But nah, cool dude.
I might have to hit him up and get him on here, I reckon.
Yeah, he would have some stories, I would say.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that. We'll get the manager onto that. Wrestle Radio Australia.
Oh yeah, okay. So this is Josh Armour's podcast.
Yeah, it's now Todd Easton's running. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So this was he just asked me at the end of a show. He used to do a lot of his podcasts like at the end of a wrestling show.
Yeah.
There and then. This was at. Jeez. I can just picture the whole venue in my head, and I couldn't tell you where it is. No idea. I'm pretty sure it was one of Blase's shows.
Okay, yeah.
Obviously, that's not where so that's the picture in the bottom right is from that show.
Okay, yep.
And that's Elliot Sexton.
Doing his there, Paul.
Doing his thing now. Is he still Elliot Sexton in NXT?
No, what's he now?
No.
Duke Hudson.
That's it, Duke Hudson.
Like yeah.
And Paul Roberts. And these were, so I can't remember what the shows were, but they were Blase put the shows on. And I think there was a series of about 6 shows in total. Obviously, all the wrestlers, the local talent were there.
Yeah.
Obviously, Elliot Sexton, Jag Harley Jackson Havoc, Bronson Reed, formerly known as Jonah, Wayne Matai.
Okay, yeah.
Johnny would have been there. It's just a whole, it was effectively, it didn't matter where your home promotion was. It was like a combined effort.
Yeah.
And did the podcast with Josh that night. I don't even know if I assume it's still somewhere on the internet.
I'm sure, you'd be able to find it, yeah.
Josh was always a really nice guy. But I didn't know him super well or anything like that. Back then he was primarily involved he was involved in Riot City.
Yep.
And I wasn't super involved because I was over at Rampage. And as you know, things were a lot different then. And there wasn't the cross-pollination amalgamation of wrestling talent.
It's a big word for you.
It is huge. I had to think about that for a second. But yeah, cool dude.
Yeah, right.
Really sad.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No. Very sad, but did some great things for the business.
He did.
Look at that group.
Okay, so this is a Wrestle Rampage end of year show, and that is like all of the Wrestle Rampage originals, I would say.
Yeah.
So do we want to go through everyone? Or?
Go for it, go on.
So obviously we've got Havoc, Robbie Hart,
Yeah.
Jonah, Bronson Reed, Jason Cooper,
Coops.
Jacko, which this might be breaking the fourth wall a little bit, but that's Harley Jackson's dad.
Oh, there you go.
Then we've got myself, Tom Chocolate, Greg Graham, Dick Donovan, Wrecking Ball Wilson,
Yeah.
Joey Graham,
Yeah.
Bones Malone, and Pat Graham.
Oh, nice.
And while they're all up there, I would have to say that group of guys, the Grahams, some of the hardest working guys I've seen in wrestling.
Yeah.
They came into Wrestle Rampage when it was hard.
Okay.
Like, they didn't, as I said, Harley Jackson had that mentality that he wanted to create the best. And he would only take the time to train you if you were seriously committed.
Yeah.
And those guys put in hours and hours and hours
Oh,
of
they
work.
still do. We had Joey on the show not long ago,
Yep.
and yeah, those boys, they work hard.
They
still
do
do.
work very hard. And they're all talented.
Yep.
Each in their own way, perhaps. But a really cool group of guys. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many of them.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
No, what a good group, and yeah, most of them are still going today. So
They are.
what an awesome.
I think Bones has even come back, hasn't he?
Yeah, I've seen him at a few shows.
Yep.
He's popped up here and there, not as often as he did before, but yeah, he's still popping up now and again.
Yep.
Even Coops popped up at their Rumble a few months ago.
Yep.
Last year, so yeah, there's a few getting around still.
I refereed a lot of Coops' matches, and he was definitely a guy that you'd watch do stuff in the ring and you'd go, "Jeez, man!" He would do the big move early on in the match, and you would be like, "Geez, calm down." But he he just wanted to put on a show for everyone, and really, really talented guy, really good.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
That's what they do it for, put on the show for people, entertain the fans.
Yeah.
Here's an old one.
Wow. So this is really old.
MPW.
I think I watched the video of this not that long ago, right? Because I think this is actually a still from a video.
Okay.
And that is Luke Hazard giving a move to... So it looks like a sit-out powerbomb, doesn't it? Or something like that.
Sit out. Something.
I don't know who he's giving the move to, though. And then on the turnbuckle to the right here is Cannibal Chris Taylor.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure who that is with their back to us. And on the far side is Johnny Raddick and Kincaid.
Oh, Kincaid, nice.
And that's that old... So I think that's that ring... I can't remember if that's the Wrestle Rampage ring now or the ring that Johnny's got.
Looks like the PWSA ring, I think.
Possibly.
It looks a bit too big for Rampage.
Well, they're the same size.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Rampage.
Yeah,
was a
the
bit
Rampage
smaller.
ropes are taller.
Okay. Yeah, that's what makes it feel a bit.
Yeah. The PWSA ropes are a lot.
It might be the Rampage one then, because the ropes are pretty tall on that one.
Yeah. That PWSA ring almost cost me my back once.
What'd you do?
Oh, I got squashed in the corner.
Oh, really?
But and even at my height, I was too high up, and it got me under the shoulder blades, and I was in like a bad way. That's annoying me that I don't know who that is with their back to me. But that would be, geez, that's probably the earliest photo so far, right? That was a long time ago.
Very long time.
And that mat was really cool to slide on until you got wet or sweaty, and then you would just stop.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah. What a time though. Look at that. It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know what that is, but geez, that is a long time ago now.
It's a very.
I even hesitate that might be at the Octagon.
Yeah, right.
And I didn't do many shows at the Octagon because it was pulled down very shortly after I started.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
That's good to see.
That is a chance photo, right? So I think this might be one of Blase's shows.
Yeah.
I can't remember
that belt looks
what
familiar.
the name of the show, like what name he did them under. And what I'm doing with the belt, I have no idea, but I'm confident that
Are you catching it or are you throwing it?
I'm confident that I've been holding it. I've either looked at it and gone, I'm holding it the wrong way, this will sound, it probably doesn't sound weird, but so when you've got to go like this or like that and show everyone the belt, you obviously don't want to do it upside down, right? Like, so you're really conscious of it before you lift it. Am I holding this the right way?
Yeah.
And I have no idea how it's ended up in the air, but I assume that I've gone to flip it around in my hands or something like that, and the photo's been caught at that time. So, yeah, there you go. But I've often wondered how I've got a picture of me with a belt floating in front of me.
Yeah, it's a good picture. I like it. Yeah, it's good to find out the story of that.
Wow. Okay.
Mr. Juicy.
Yep. So this is St. Clair Recreation Centre for sure, and it's Wrestle Rampage, and obviously Mr. Juicy, who's just made a comeback.
Yeah.
Super
saw
show.
that. Yeah.
Looking significantly different.
Fitter. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yep. I have no idea who he's wrestling.
Could be anyone.
Yeah, it could be anyone from there.
Could be anyone.
But
could be.
And I don't know what match it is.
Could be Rocky.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure how many shows he wrestled there then.
Yeah.
But Juicy's a cool guy.
Yeah.
Funny guy.
Yeah.
Smart to wrestling, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Obviously he wasn't, and back then, and this is even, I think he got a little bit bigger than that. If I'm allowed to say that, and it's not meant to be offensive or anything.
No.
But he wasn't your super athletic wrestler. He couldn't do a lot of, because of the way he was, he couldn't do a lot of that.
Yeah. But very entertaining,
but
though.
extremely entertaining.
Yeah.
And he knew how to work with the crowd. The crowd loved him.
Yeah.
Super over with the crowd. I think that's got a lot to do with how he's got to where he is with New Japan.
Yeah.
Fun guy to work with.
Yeah.
Really fun guy to work with.
Nice. No, it's good to see him make his comeback and get back into it. I think that's our last photo.
Is that our last photo? So I don't. Jeez.
It's a nice one.
I again don't know when that. Oh yes, I do know when that was taken. So that was taken. That's at a Riot City show.
Yeah.
So that's obviously the newest photo, and that is just me coming out to the ring, believe it or not. And Matilda, pretty sure Matilda took that photo. Extremely talented photographer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just I think it's my current profile, which I probably need to update. But just a really cool photo.
Yeah.
And obviously that's representative of me today. So yeah.
No, it's good. yeah, like I said, it's hard. It was hard to get some pictures because there's not a lot of you on floating around on your pages. But also, I guess at the end of the day, there's a lot of pictures of you just standing in the ring, doing your job, sort of thing. To get these ones that we have found, where throwing a belt in the air and doing some random shit, it's good to have a look at and good to hear the stories about. What do you believe in how the refs should be, not seen, sort of thing, so they don't take the action away from the guys in the
100%.
in the ring?
Yeah. It's not. It's not about me.
Yeah.
As a referee.
What about how back in the day, old WWE, you knew who the referees were, all those guys. Nowadays, you don't know who the referees are. They've got no names, none of that shit. I know still here in Adelaide, we still, Nick Savage, senior referee Michael Can, we say their names, people know who they are. Do you have any problem with that, or you don't sort of?
No, I don't have an issue with that, and I think the referee should have a name.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. If you look at UFC, they don't not tell you the referee is. Yeah. They don't just say, the referee.
And even sport, umpiring, football, cricket.
They tell you who the referee is. I think you deserve to have a name.
Yeah,
I actually think that I did never agree with WWE making them nameless.
Yeah.
I have no issue with them being referred to as the referee because that's who they are.
Yeah.
But I don't see why they shouldn't have a name or a known name, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it gives them a little bit of personality as well. And I know that it's not about them, but gives them a bit of personality. So if something does happen, people can buy in on that person. And if they end up having to have a match or something like that, people can actually invest in them because they know who they are, what they're about, sort of thing, instead of just being referee number one. And,
100%. I think that I don't think you're not gonna see in WWE a referee become a wrestler or suddenly have a match or anything like that.
Yeah, but more on the independent, I guess.
Definitely on the indies. I still could never understand why they took their name away from them.
Yeah.
Because they're still part of the match. They're still part of the show. They're still a real person.
Yeah.
Right?
I think they've gone back to doing couple names now, and I think in the new game you can pick a referee, they got their names and stuff. I think AEW were always telling the names, like Audrey or whatever her name is and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah. But no, thank you for looking at those pictures, man. Thank you for the stories. Alright, Nick, love for you now to plug your social media, any events you've got coming up, where people can find you.
Yep, so social media, I'm not super active, but Nick Savage on Insta and Facebook.
Yep.
So obviously welcome to follow. And there's a lot upcoming for wrestling in South Australia. And I let's just plug everyone, right? So we've got ACW New Dawn Saturday the 23rd of March at the ACW Arena.
Yep.
We have tomorrow night RCW at Gluttony at the Fringe.
Yep.
RCW is also at Fringe the following Saturday night and Sunday afternoon. So a big double header there. And Wrestle Rampage, I believe, also next Saturday. Tomorrow night.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you're in South Australia and you want to see some really good quality wrestling tomorrow night, get down to Wrestle Rampage. Sure, that'll finish up in time for you to get to Gluttony as well.
So this might come out after those shows, but
okay, that would be really cool.
Check on the social media of those guys, what their next shows are. And I think we got PWSA next Saturday night as well.
So huge. I think wrestling in SA is in a really good spot. We've got some really cool talent. Some really cool things happening.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at, and this is probably known to a lot of people that watch the show as well, you look at the WWE tryouts that were on in in Perth on the Elimination Chamber week, and there were heaps of South Australian wrestlers there.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, yeah. So I just encourage everyone to support wrestling in Australia, support wrestling in South Australia, and if you want to keep seeing wrestling, you've got to get down there and watch the shows.
Yeah, perfect. I think that's a great way to wrap this up. Everyone give Nick a like and a follow, all that sort of stuff, and like you said, keep looking on the social media of all the wrestling companies in South Australia if you're here, or if you're in other states, check out the ones in your local area. Give them a follow, keep up to date with their shows, support local wrestling, support independent Australian wrestling. And Nick, thank you for your time, man. I appreciate you coming on.
No, thanks again.
And I
Thanks
look
for having
forward
me.
to your general manager duties coming up and
Yes.
seeing what you get up to.
Yeah, for sure.
Easy, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of Beers and Brawls. Another huge thank you to my guest, Nick Savage. It was awesome to hear his stories and everything he's got up to in the business so far, and we look forward to seeing what he has on next. So like we said before, like, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff. Support independent wrestling, support our guys at Shifty Lizard, and until next time guys, cheers.